Hey. Hello everyone. Welcome to Rumbi Uncensored. It's good to see everybody. First of all, I just wanted to say to those that have just come across this channel for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And also for my regulars, thank you for sticking around. Let's have a conversation. Very, very important. I really love to hear your feedbacks as well. You know, this platform here, we speak up, so we don't. There's no fear right here, no fear, no BS and no agenda. It's clear, you know what I mean? We have a conversation. But quick one, seriously, a disclaimer. I want to make it clear that I am not a journalist. So my views are personally mine and, just, so please understand that. If you're looking for journalists, there are spaces where you can find them. As a matter of fact, I actually use some of journalists' researches, and that's why I always credit them, for their work. So good to see everyone. Welcome to Rumbi Uncensored. By the way, very important. I heard that my TT is out of prison, so we're gonna look at that story a little bit later. I've got reasons why. It's gonna be a funny one, so you guys hang around. We're gonna have fun. But good morning, and so Sylvia KASUKUWERE said Mr. Mnangagwa is a caretaker in the interim after the SADC report or the SADC outcome. He said he's a caretaker president. I also heard this morning that there's actually presidents that are going to be in Zimbabwe just so that they can be able to mediate. I don't know if it's for government of national unity, which we are saying we have been through that road and we don't want to go there. Or it's going to be a transitional government. Fresh poll, nobody knows. So guys, I want to know your thoughts. Are you comfortable with the government of national unity, a transitional government, or you prefer fresh poll? Please comment in the comment section. And also don't forget to drop your location as we're having a conversation. Very important. We're simply talk. It's good to see you guys. Good to see you. Good to see you. And happy Tuesday to everyone. Happy Tuesday. In Johannesburg, it's raining. It is raining. It's a little bit cold. Not really cold, but it's raining. Cats and dogs. Okay, so let's have a look and see what's happening. Who is trending on Twitter right now? So we have Nelson Chamisa trending. Can I tell you, he's trending because today, I think it's today, hey, if I'm not mistaken, the nomination court, or is it today on the 9th, if I'm not mistaken? I need to get my dates right. And so people are saying, why is he quiet? And I'm like, I think I share the same sentiments with Nelson Chamisa. When I see that there's too much of chaos, I shrink. I take my time, I take my time. I really need to hide and begin to pray about things because I don't want to make a wrong decision. Because when everyone is kind of giving you an advice, it's a dangerous zone to make a move. You rather just chill and relax and think through stuff. Then you can come out and say. But some people are saying, but time is moving. Are you going to participate as an independent or what? He's not saying anything. Can I tell you? Like I said to you, I share the same sentiments because I don't find any reason why I should include myself in any illegitimate form of move because I know the consequences that come with it. So it's an issue of principles. It's principles or nothing. Guys, I'm asking you to like the live so we can push algorithm quickly so other people can join us. Very, very important. So Chamisa is trending. Harare as well. Harare is trending. It's trending, I think, I praise for right reasons because there's always issues with Harare. So they're saying that the reciting also is an issue of Pomona. The Pomona deal that that most people fought finally went through. So people are like, Pomona deal. There's a lot of corruption there. That's people alleging as part of a corrupt, cartel. So let's see where it's going. But the Zimbabwe that we are facing right now is not for jokes. If you steal, we are coming after you. If you loot our stuff, we are coming after you. So play your games right because people are not having no mercy at all. They're coming after you. All right. And there was a fight, actually, that's just girls. Slave queens, I think they were having their party and then fight broke out. It's not important to me. I have no time for this. Moving on. Moving on, literally. Very important. So let's get into our business for the day. Quite interesting. So I don't know if you guys managed to see the outcome from SADC for those that got hold of the document. If you did not, I'm going to share the document in the comment section so you guys can have access to it. Read on your own and then decide what kind of Zimbabwe do you prefer. What are you expecting? Because it's one thing for me to tell you stuff, it's for you to make a decision and choose the future that you know you deserve. It's really about what you deserve that matters than anything else. All right, so yeah, SADC Summit. KASUKUWERE, he said ED is simply a caretaker. And I'm asking you, do you prefer a fresh poll? Do you prefer government of national unity, or you prefer transitional government? I know transitional government and government of national unity are very different. So in my understanding, definitely a fresh poll, we all know what it is. You are saying we are restarting. Since you are saying this election was a sham, so why can't we restart? I mean, we know EU is ready to fork out the money if there are reforms in place for us to redo elections. We also know that we did government of national unity then during the time of Tsvangirai, which just worked, I think, for about a year or two, and then things went south. People saying it was just some ammunition to manipulate. And I'm a person who believes that you can't mix darkness and light. You know, wrong and right can't be in the same room. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? We either be right or you're wrong. So mixing two people who believed in two things, it was the darkness and the light. Definitely, we're not expecting the fancy outcome. We need to learn, Zimbabweans, to exalt principles. You know, to say it's principles or nothing. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way you're guaranteed success. There are people who manipulate themselves to the top, and it came with consequences. But when you follow the principles, it may take a bit longer, but at the end, you know you will succeed. Not only are you going to succeed, is you are creating a culture of truth and a culture of people who understand that if we cross the line, if we cross this line here, there are consequences. So I'm a firm believer that a fresh poll can work perfectly. Then transitional government, in my understanding, as per the elaboration of Dr. Ibo Mandaza, he mentioned that what they would do is to actually have to select, maybe form a new cabinet, which is going to also cover ZANU-PF, Citizen Coalition for Change, and civil society. But it doesn't mean that you just have to be ZANU-PF in order to qualify. Your track record is very important. They're going to scrutinize you. If you fail to qualify, you're out. If you don't have qualifications to serve, you're out. I mean, you've seen quite a number of ministers who are simply going up and down. They know absolutely nothing. So he says, we don't want to waste our time. We now want to work with the right people. So for the transitional government, and temporarily, we are going to work with that cabinet for about maybe 6 months to a year while we prepare for a fresh fall. Because preparing for new elections is also work. And also the other thing that I heard, if I heard him correctly, Dr. Ibo Mandaza, you mentioned that you would really love those polls to be monitored by external observers, not being officiated by ZEC, because you know ZEC failed us dismally. Literally, we are in this sham, in this mess because of Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, which really is completely partisan. You have seen how they have employed some of ministers' kids, especially the ZANU-PF elites' kids, that they're just sitting on the chair, sitting comfortably, coming to work, get a salary for doing absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Remember, ZEC had all the time to prepare for this election. So we were expecting nothing but expecting success. But the moment we saw that everything was a mess, we're like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on? You know? Guys, don't forget to like the live, because we need to push algorithm so other people can join us. It's very, very crucial. So I'm asking you to do so. And also, please don't forget to comment. I can see comments are like, literally, do you prefer a fresh poll, or you prefer transitional government, or you would go for government of national unity? That one, government of national unity in my lifetime, out. I would work with a transitional government, which sounds a bit promising, and also fresh poll. I know that's we're guaranteed, considering that we have external, of officials, not our own Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. So that definitely can be a problem. All right, so moving on. Dr. Walter Muzembe, he said, a few of us are burdened by what we have perceived in Zimbabwe on the Mount of Transfiguration in its full splendor of possibilities and transformation. A visionary glimpse of the extent of its infinity possibilities and majesty for its people who are currently languishing in the valley of mediocrity, which feeds and postures only the few. Arise and shine, Zimbabwe. Your time is nigh. Good night. So that was a message that he sent last night. So arise, Zimbabwe, and shine. It's your time to shine. Believe, I've said to you, the battle is definitely in the mind. the battle of the mind. We have to firstly believe that we're worth of a better country. We're worth of a better Zimbabwe. And once that is done, then we are now working towards a change and towards transformation. Guys, the power is in us. The power is definitely in us. We should never, undermine our potential. We are the Zimbabweans. We are the people, and we are the ones that will make it a great country. The few people want, we have got a few that have demolished, and the majority are us. So let's make up our mind to fix our country. When we do so, then we are good to go. Then Never Masona also said, much as the gun must not lead politics, it is quite unfortunate that for some time the gun will continue leading politics in many jurisdictions until normal humans capable of restoring order, respecting rules are in charge. People's democratic coups will not end soon in Africa. What he's just simply saying is that if we carry on, if we carry on with this chaos, then people are forced to acquire guns. We have seen some of the comments on social media when people are saying, no, it's time for us to carry the gun. If ZANU-PF is relying on the gun, it's time for us to have one. You just heard people saying it on social media, which I personally don't think it's a good idea. We don't encourage fight. We don't encourage turmoil. You've seen what's going on in Palestine and Israel. It's not good. It doesn't look good. It's absolutely painful to watch. So we don't want to have a Zimbabwe like that. We are family, but it's very important for us to create a culture that understands when we can sit around the table and have a conversation. It's very important, sitting around the table and have a conversation. If you're in a family setup where you guys don't know how to sit around the table, even sitting on the floor, what I'm missing. So in my father's family, we were 8. So we are 6 girls and 2 boys. Get this right, 6 girls and 2 boys. So in my father's house, there was one rule of thumb. When there are too many girls, you're much aware that as you get older, then there's going to be a lot of men up and down. And our family is very close to the road. So, men were like up and down, kind of eyeing on the girls. But there was one rule in my father's house. You do not come back home after 6. It was not negotiable. My father is a very tall, gigantic man, a very tall and huge man. That's why I'm kind of a bit, So just imagine when you have such a daddy and he wasn't playing, If you come up, let me just tell you this. My daddy at exactly 5:45, you see him sitting and he will sit. Let me tell you, you will sit now checking the time. A minute after minute after minute. He's much aware you must be in the house before 6. It was a rule in our home. Well known, it wasn't written on the wall, but it was written on the tablet of our hearts. But here's the thing, in my 40 year of life, I'm 40 years old, it's still written on the tablet of my heart. You can't come back home after 6. But if I go out for dinner, whatever the case may be, I don't drink. So I rarely go to clubbing or whatever, gallivanting, I rarely do. That is not in me. But because of the rules that I was raised by, they've formed the kind of person that I am. So I'm a homebody. It's who I am, and I love it because I was raised that way. It's time for us to set a precedence and draw a line in the sand and say, not again in these parameters, in this space. In Zimbabwe, we are a people who believe in sitting around the table and talk and find a solution, and then we close the door, we're out of there. This issue of just living for the sake of adakushandisa violence, adakuskrima, adakutuka, adakunyorana zvekunyepa pa social media, that kind of culture has to cease now if we truly want to succeed. There's no way we can expect a transformation in our country as long as we are still, busy with this toxic culture. This morning, I was thinking in my mind, I was like, you know what? I don't think we would go to Dubai. If we had built our Dubai in Zimbabwe, there was no need for us to be going to Dubai and be checking other countries because we had everything that we need. But because we did not build our country in the way that we should, now we are always eyeing on what's going on the other side. It's time for us to rebuild the Zimbabwe that you and me all want. All right, so quickly we're going to move to the thread that was written by Xavier KASUKUWERE. He said the adoption of 4.4, this is the 4th of November, 2023, of the SADC, the report on Zimbabwe in Luanda Angola, has the net effect of declaring a vacancy in Zimbabwean presidency as well as other elective posts. It upholds the nullity of the elections. SADC News noted, adopted, committed to act on it. So I've told you, SADC adopted the not the final report for Zimbabwe's sham election. You also say it's fact that according to the report, which the Zimbabwean authorities have not disputed in part or in whose as adopted by SADC News, we woke up today without a president, save for a caretaker authority which we all shall. I don't know if I can finish this, that you say Mr. Mnangagwa is a caretaker. This is what KASUKUWERE is saying. You know what, as much as we have issues in Zimbabwe, but it's actually it's an interesting country, actually. You know, so many things are happening and all you can do is laugh. So he said, we woke up today without a president, save for a caretaker authority, which we all shall respect as they shepherd us into legitimacy. Can you hear that? That's the transitional government, if I understood, as per Dr. Ibo Mandaza, that we can adopt that temporary leadership in terms of Mr. Mnangagwa, the president, can remain the president while we transit into a free, fair, and credible election. But in the interim, we are going to dissolve the current cabinet and also form our own cabinet based on competency and also based on inclusive in terms of which political party we can take. Citizen Coalition for Change, we can consider ZANU-PF as well as the civil society, which makes a lot of sense because I think the bottom line is we are trying to build a very solid country, a country that will cater for all. That's the bottom line. He also said, we urge you to be strong and of good courage, while all manner respecting the sanctity of life, the independence, the peace, the stability of our land. No one is bigger than Zimbabwe. In the end, we all are fighting for a developed, prosperous, peaceful, tolerant, and inclusive country. I say amen to that. The SADC News report correctly assessed that the conduct of Zimbabwe Electoral Commission on the 23rd of August elections violated the Zimbabwe Constitution, and the election itself fell short of violated SADC guidelines on the conduct of elections. As such, its results cannot stand. It's a nullity. The results of ZEC cannot stand. As per President Xavier KASUKUWERE, the president for a candidate, independent candidate president, the results cannot stand. In my own world too, when I saw what happened on the 23rd of August, the worst thing in history, the worst in history, it was nothing but an embarrassment. So let's go through what SADC said, because I actually to extract a piece that I knew was very important for the purpose of this conversation. So they said a flawed process cannot produce a legitimate leader. SADC said Zimbabwe's elections did not fulfill the requirements of local and regional standards. However, the mission has observed the following areas of the electoral process system that relevant stakeholders may wish to consider improving. Number one is access to voters' roll. So that is when we now following the legitimacy in terms of selecting leaders in the upcoming election. In the interim, there's so many talks that are happening in the background. I also heard this morning that there is a delegate that is assigned to come to Zimbabwe. I don't know how true that is. We're still yet to confirm. So that they can mediate. In what form of mediation? Just to bring peace among our people. In order to improve perceptions amongst the public, politics parties and candidates, ZEC is advised to strictly follow the provisions of the Constitution on transparency, access to information, and tamers via the voters' roll in accordance with the stipulations under the Electoral Act. Bear in mind, guys, notwithstanding the sham of an election, even if Zimbabwe changed, there's still going to be Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. But that Zimbabwe Electoral Commission may not be with the people that we know currently. It may be a completely new setup of people who are authentic, who are faithful, and who are honesty. You know, we won't be going through all these chaos that we are right now. Point number two is nomination fees. In order to enhance the openness and inclusivity of the political process, ZEC is urged to engage with all key stakeholders in the process of revising nomination fees for candidates and attempt to benchmark the revised fees in the context of the SADC region and Zimbabwe's economic realities. Number three is state-owned media coverage, which is the Zimbabwe Broadcast Corporation. People are saying, as we say, this code is ZANU-PF Broadcast Corporation. Those are just sentiments all over social media because there isn't really that flexibility or that accommodation in terms of other political parties. It is only saving ZANU-PF. That becomes a challenge because as a media, state-owned media coverage, it should really cover almost everything in the country or everyone in the country. But as we said, it's actually very much partisan. I've done a video on it. That's ZBC. It is a sham. It is definitely a shame. So the relevant media regulatory authorities are urged to ensure the implementation of measures that require impartiality in the coverage of political events by state-owned media. Voting materials. ZEC is urged to strengthen transparency in the procurement process and in delivery of all voting materials, including ballot papers, put in place a monitoring system that includes the participation and verification by electoral stakeholders. In addition, there is a need for the Electoral Act to be revised to put in place clear timeframes within which these processes should be completed. And I've said before that I read Noise Western. I was waiting for me some time to do a presser. I'm waiting for ZANU-PF presser, but I never did that. After the time the president landed from Angola, I even didn't add anything from ZANU-PF. I'm waiting for a presser. Yo, you know, I don't really like the way Mutangwa speaks, but he's very much unique. You know, being this vile man that he is, he's still unique in his own self. And I can't wait to hear him speaking. I'm waiting because I know the entire press is going to be Chamisa, 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 Chamisa. Then in the end, he's going to say, please ask your questions, more questions if you have any question. He speaks Chamisa, so for that reason, I would want him to come out and then he can spread more word for the for Citizen Coalition for Change, because he is obsessed with Nelson Chamisa. So point number 5 is participation of women. You know, effective and practical measures should now be put in place at the earliest sitting of the next parliament to enhance the equal participation of women as candidates in electoral processes. You know, like I said to you, women would love really to be leaders. Who doesn't want to serve? Women, as a matter of fact, can actually be the best in terms of leadership because they understand, you know, the pain of a mom is very important to apply in any form of leadership. Just being human. I can only be baffled really, you know, when I see what's going on in Zimbabwe, and men, excuse me if you can, I'm disappointed with men actually. Like I said, excuse me, not all, some. Because where we are today is the failure of men in our society. Most of the people that are part of the cartel are men. They are not women. Like I said, I love men with all respect. But, you know, we are disappointed because the people that are looting in Zimbabwe are men, are not women. They are men. You know, maybe women are just supporting at home, but the truth of the matter is men are at the forefront. What is that supposed to say is we need more women to be in the political space so they can be able to dilute this level of toxicity that we are facing today. We need to rebuild and we need to revamp our society. It's very, very important. So in conclusion, the mission observed that the pre-election and voting phases on the 23rd to 24th August 2023 harmonized elections were peaceful and calm. However, for reasons outlined above, the mission noted that some aspects of the harmonized elections fell short of the requirements of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, the Electoral Act and SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections in 2021, as they were advised to also take that into consideration. Then Mr. Mzambi, Dr. Mzambi, you know him, Dr. Mzambi, said general elections are the only insurance to an uninterrupted electricity supply service after inauguration. Things fall apart. All the glorious project default to maintenance, which in itself lies the pockets of supply cartels, investigate invented and manufactured power shortages. We are having this problem. They were promising prior to elections, electricity everywhere, but today we are back to load shedding. It's having people of dishonesty. The cartel, but you can see them flaunting money all over the place. Very, very disappointing and embarrassing. Now, we have this upcoming by-election, which today, so many political parties, they've wrote to ZEC that we are not participating, which includes Citizen Coalition for Change. They said we are not participating in that drama. So there's also FAS against to being roped in the space. You know, the FAS, Forever Associate Zimbabwe, which is actually another wing for ZANU-PF, which really caused quite a mess on the 23rd and 24th of August. You saw their tables all over the place. You know, quite fascinating. But this is where we are now. Life goes on. So Farah was said they are very ready, ZANU-PF, to go with the elections. You know, Songezo Shamangu's story, which we are covering in our next our next show. I'm coming back around 1 p.m. We are running, Chamisa risk to lose his political party, which is literally just a farce. But we all know that it's simply just a farce. And Songezo again claiming that he's going to recall more people. And we need to look at, from what point does Songezo have to stretch himself that far? But we know it's some PF's footprints all over the place. But we're running that story at exactly 1 p.m. So come back. Let's have a conversation about Songezo and the Citizen Coalition for Change. So Ndavakulu said, so Emerson has appointed a guy who is chairperson of an airline company owned by Tongai Mnangagwa. So Tongai Mnangagwa, the president's son, is owning an airline, but then the guy who is a board member, the guy who is the chairperson of that airline has been appointed as one of the board members for Mutapa State Up Fund. When we ran Mutapa State Fund, which again stayed as tear online, where people are like, no, where would the president change the Zimbabwe, sovereign fund's name into Mutapa Investment Fund? Because that's a state-owned, investment fund. Why is it being changed to a reckless name? So today, yesterday, apparently they appointed board members, and one of the board members is actually a chairperson, chairperson of one of Mnangagwa's son, Tongai Mnangagwa. Can you see how Mr. Mnangagwa's sons are all over the place, and how they have their hands on almost very important, portfolios in Zimbabwe? And that actually includes money. One of the son is actually the deputy minister, finance minister, which means if something happens to Mutuli, it's gonna be actually the minister of finance. It's how the Zimbabwean state has been turned to definitely a personal business. And people are saying, you check the gold mafia too. So many allegations really just to also, hanging around the president. We saw the SADC report that was released by South Africa. Again, the president being robbed into the space with also Caretaker. So those kind of things are just causing a bit of, of talks. And say, but why? Why do we have the president's son, chairperson, being a board member of the fund? This war, was this not supposed to pass through parliament? So that the parliament can approve, or the president has to just nominate? So that's another interesting appointment, is that of the chairperson of the Zimbabwe. All are coordinated efforts to loot the country dry. Remember, Zimbabwe's weight is today because of Mugabe's son-in-law, who was literally the CEO of Zimbabwe. But then where are we today? Why do you guys want to, bring your family members into the, country's affairs? It's really sad. It's very sad to watch. But here we are, the Mutapa investment money, which was moved from Zimbabwe Sovereign Fund. Again, people alleging that there's going to be corruption, around this, investment fund. So they say Zimbabwean president, that is actually the Newsworks, reported that Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa has approved appointment of a new board of directors of the controversial Mutapa Investment Fund, formerly the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Finance Minister Ntuli says in a statement, Ngube named the board members as follows. So Ngube, of course, if Ntuli did, of course, there is a head of the entire regime. So there's Chipo Mtasa, also is a chairperson. Then Leslie Ndlovu, deputy chair. Tembilihle Kumalo, Fare Mutamangira. Then Bart Mutskwaka. Then Charity Jinya. And then Prasad, I think Bame. This seems to be like an Indian or something. The Doge Fund has taken over government shareholding in 22 state-owned enterprises to capitalize itself and resultantly open way for a flurry of opaque transactions for self-serving and self-extravagant purposes. Mnangagwa has arbitrarily issued a statutory instrument or decree placing Mutapa Investment Fund above procurement laws, beyond parliamentary oversight, and not subject of public scrutiny, creating a hotbed for corruption and looting. Analysts have described the Mutapa Investment Fund as unconstitutional and also grand looting scheme on an industrial scale by Mnangagwa's regime on on what is supposed to be his last term of office. It is widely seen as a ploy to plunder public companies or parastatals on a scale similar to that at which Russian or hooligans looted during the perestroika restructuring and glasnost transparency programs amid a chaotic transition from the Soviet era to the post-Cold War Russia. The writer for the news box is very good, and they were, oh, the vocabulary right there. You're killing me. Yo, you're gonna clean my tongue. You're killing my tongue, yo. You're killing my tongue. But we also know that has been an issue really when it comes to this sovereign fund. And today we did, he came through and he tried to explain to most Zimbabweans what is really this sovereign fund, because people didn't understand what are they all about. So the sovereign fund, he said it is actually an investment fund, that is a state-owned investment fund, a government or a Zimbabwe, collectively for you and me and generations to come, where they have to save money for future generations. But now the question that I'm asking is, we're already sitting on minus, you know that. So we're sitting on minus. Is it not okay to negotiate on our debt, clear the debt, and then maybe begin again? You know what I'm saying? It's normal in life. You can, file bankruptcy and you can still come back. We understand it and we can acknowledge that we are in this predicament, but the only way we can do it, let's clear the debt first, and after clearing the debt, then we can free ourselves from this guacamole. But if we keep on, looting and looting and looting and looting, and we are going minus, now we are now getting our hands on the investment as well. A lot of interesting thing that's really going on in the country, honestly. Very interesting. So the press statement that was sent out by Mutule Ngube, he said Mutapa Investment Board appointments, formerly Sovereign Wealth Fund of Zimbabwe. So now it's Mutapa and now it's being formerly Sovereign Wealth Fund. Why didn't just leave it? Magani we see Papo, it is the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Zimbabwe, because of course, we understand that when it's written Sovereign Wealth Fund of Zimbabwe, immediately it can ring a bell where the money is. But when it's called Mutapa Investment Fund, that sounds like an individual, trust right there. Very interesting. So the Sovereign Wealth Fund Act, Chapter 22.220, the Act which established the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Zimbabwe was promulgated in 2015. So since then, the operationalization of the fund progressed slowly as the government was exploring various efficient ways of capitalizing the fund. Following consultations with various stakeholders, His Excellency has now taken a substantive and deliberate decision to operationalize the fund as well as to capitalize it appropriately. So I think the most important thing now is you guys know what's going on. We must all now follow every step of the way. We must be asking questions. These people have to be accountable. Accountable to all Zimbabweans across the board. It's not about, no, don't question us. No, we're going to question. We are going to question. And someone was actually saying, why is it our journalists don't follow through stuff? Our journalists in Zimbabwe should follow through stuff. And then someone was saying maybe they are afraid. They're afraid to, they're afraid of intimidation, or to be arrested. So they have to be careful when they trade. But I suggest that we need to do away with fear and really do our work honestly. Make sure that we are doing it for the betterment of the country. It's really not a personal issue. It's definitely just making sure that we clear the mess and revamp our society. We are so ready to resuscitate this society. We are very much, very much ready. So get that right. You get it right. All right, so since then, the operationalization of the fund progressed slowly as the government was exploring various efficient ways of capitalizing the fund. Following consultations with various stakeholders, His Excellency has now taken a substantive and deliberate decision to operationalize the fund as well as to capitalize it appropriately. As part of the implementation of that decision, His Excellency, through SI 56, Section 156 of 2023, made certain important amendments to the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Zimbabwe Act, which included the transfer of the government of Zimbabwe's various shareholdings in 22 entities to the fund. The fund was also renamed Mutapa Investment Fund through a publication of Mutapa Investment Fund, Presidential Powers, Temporary Measures, Investment Laws Amendment Regulations 2023. So there's presidential powers, quote unquote, that must be taken into taken in note of. Temporary Measures and Investment Laws Amendment Regulations 2023. The Mutapa Investment Fund is owned by Republic of Zimbabwe, as set out in the subsection 2 of section 3 of the Act. Traditionally, SOEs and local authorities used to contribute 40% of the country's GDP. Over the years, not only did the positive contribution of SOECs, but they have generally become a drain to the fiscus for many well-documented reasons. His Excellency the President has observed that the performance of SOEs can be enhanced by proper performance management, reformulation of their corporate strategies in line with the National Vision 2030, Vision 2030, quote unquote. Whenever I hear Vision 2030, I literally cringe. I cringe whenever I hear Vision 2030. I cringe, actually. I do cringe. And NGSI. All right. So institution of effective governance frameworks, a strengthening of the institutions, effective capital raising and disciplined capital allocation. Being a sovereign wealth fund, the fund's objects are to make secure investments to the benefit and enjoyment of future generations of Zimbabweans, to support the development objectives of the government, including its long-term economic and social development, to support fiscal or macroeconomic stabilization, and they contribute to the revenues of Zimbabwe from the net returns on its investments. Government is determined to only that it earns a return to its investments, starting with its investments in the companies listed in statutory instrument 156 of 2023, but also to foster sustainable employment creation, and ultimately that the companies operate profitably and contribute to the fiscus. This will be achieved in part through the implementation of a robust monitoring and evaluation institutional framework by the fund as part of the performance management system and respect of companies in which it is invested. To this end, I'm pleased to announce that as a further step towards the reforms and the authorization of the fund, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, he has approved the appointment of the following professionals to serve as board members of the Mutapa Investment Fund: Chipom Tasa, Leslie Ngovu, Tembe Litle Kumalo, Farem Mutamangira, Bat Mutskwaka, and Charity Jinya Prasad Bame. The government is determined to establish a world-class sovereign wealth fund, and it is envisaged that the board will make a strong contribution towards its objective. May I take this opportunity to wish the new board members success in their new role and to register government's commitment to support the board in its work. Thank you, Mutuli Ngove. So Mr. Mutuli Ngove have endorsed, and also the President, His Excellency, endorsed. Finally, the name has been changed from Zimbabwe Sovereign Fund to Mutapa Investment Fund, and their board members that were selected, which were also endorsed by Mr. Mutuli Ngove, the Finance Minister. Very interesting right there. But make sure you educate yourself, and we are going to follow through, and we need also reports quarterly of what's going on with that investment fund. Zimbabweans need to know, and how much is in the fund, how much has been invested, what's going on with the companies that has been listed within this investment fund. We need to do follow-ups. Zimbabweans, let's wake up, let's open our eyes, let's get ourselves involved. Gone are the days where we say let's just do whatever they do. No, it's time for us to wake up and make sure we dig our hands. Americans do the same. They scrutinize, they ask questions, they check almost each and everything. They evaluate. If you come to the place as a governor, we need to check your track record. We need to check what's your resume. We need to learn to be proactive. Let's be proactive. Let's involve ourselves and make sure that we protect the future generations from all this, toxicity that we are facing today. I don't wish my children to go through what I'm going through right now. I don't. I would like them to grow up in a very sanitized society, a society that exalts honesty, integrity, exalt love, unity, determination, posterity, prosperity. That's what we need to always wish. But we don't wish, we want to take steps to make sure that that happens in our society. So I'm asking that question and I repeat, what do you guys prefer? Do you prefer a fresh poll transitional government, or you prefer a government of national unity? That is what people are just saying. I will consider definitely a fresh poll, and I can consider transitional government. The government of national unity, no. Darkness and light can never meet. We need to revamp our society. Let's unify our people. There's so much polarization among our Zimbabwean people. We need to now revamp our society and make sure everyone understands where we are going and where we are coming from. So I told you at exactly 1 p.m. I'm coming back. We are running. Chamisa is standing a risk to lose a citizen coalition for change, which is just nothing. They're talking absolutely nonsense. So I want you guys to come back. The reason why I'm covering most of these stories that are literally headlines is because someone will read it and they just kind of, they saw a headline and they're going wild. They're angry, they're upset. No, it messes up your day. But when we converse, it makes it easier because we can share ideas. We can all understand where we are going and where we are coming from. There's a lot of propaganda on our streets, and I'm asking you guys to come through. We are going to be looking at that issue, and also Songezo and his allegations that he's going to recall many people. And ask, who is this, tortoise on the lamppost? Does it really matter, in citizen coalition for change? That's what we're going to be looking at. And also, then, we can also look at other story in the evening. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm asking you to drop your location, please. We're going to send you some shout out right now. Drop your location because that's all I have for you right now. But I'm coming back at exactly 1 p.m. It's going to be an interesting one. Drop your location. Let's share some love, please. Zimbabweans, where are you all over the world? Because what I want you to know is you're all important. Diaspora, you're going to come back in the country. And when you're back in the country, we need to build this country, the Zimbabwe that we want. Let's come together, hold hands, because together we can. It's not for one person, but all of us, we are important. Let's come together and build the Zimbabwe that we want. Yeah, drop your location. Let's share some love, please. And see if there's anything that's just being dropped right now, because things are happening. Also, so the one, what's her name? The president for UZA. Okay, the Elizabeth Valerio. She also sent up a statement that they are not going to participate in this by-election. No one can participate. There's no election in Zimbabwe, actually. There's no election. So what are you talking about? Honestly, there's nothing. Okay, Mr. Ineso Chamisa, stay cool. We are covering that story this afternoon. So guys, relax. They are busy with their nomination court today. Busy with that. And let's look at that story a little bit later. I love you all, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so blessed having you. I'll see you at exactly 1 p.m. Let's talk about Citizen Coalition for Change. Nelson Chamisa, he boldly declared he is the owner of the party. Not the owner of the party, but he's the leader of the party. Together with us, it's a citizen coalition. It's us, the citizens of Zimbabwe. We literally said we want a Zimbabwe that we know is best for us. So for that reason, we are not budging in all the lies, propaganda that is circulating on our streets. Don't buy it. We are still on the course, guys. We're still on the course of making Zimbabwe great again. This time we won't fail. ZANU-PF's template won't work. Not again in this era. It won't work. We'll stand and defend the sovereignty of our country, the country that we love, Zimbabwe. Thank you, guys. May God bless you and may God bless Zimbabwe. I love you all, and bye for now.